Okay, so here we are going to take a look at Marawan's front crawl. We're going to start from a push off, and it's interesting to note the way he pushes off. I've drawn here an angle relative to the surface of the water. You can see it's pushing down at 34 degrees. A better way to push off would be in a straight line. So his feet should be lower, something like there. Let's draw that in for you. Something like there. And he should be pushing off in a straight line to the surface. You're going to see what happens to him because he pushes off all the way down. He's moving down, he's come to a virtual standstill, and he's going effectively in an arc towards the surface. Curves are always bad, straight lines are good in any kind of sport. You want to get somewhere in a straight line. You can see the fundamentals of his swimming stroke are all there. I'm just going to stop it here and have a look at his arms, because you can see he's trying to catch the water. I've drawn a line here. You can see he's trying to catch the water with that hand. He's trying to make purchase in the water. And the only problem there is he's breathing slightly too early. So he's starting to turn to breathe when his body's actually rotated to the opposite side. So it means he's having to curve his body up. You can see that curve in the body that he's having to suffer. Just run it forward a short while to see that hand again. Here we go. And you can see that his hand is really trying to grab the water, and even though he's breathing, he really is trying to hold onto some power. With the other arm, he tends to drop his elbow, as you can see here. He's dropped his elbow, but he's still with the rest of his arm trying to grab the water, so his feel for the water is pretty good. I'm just going to come to the back end of his stroke in a second. It's much the same thing. You can see he's angling his forearm and hand back to really grab hold of the water and get it. So the fundamental things are there. And let's just look at his knees, which you can see are very much together here and stay together. And that means he's kicking very much from his knee and not from the hip. And it means we're getting into this sort of shape, which is a curved back and then the knees dip. We don't really want that shape. We prefer a straight back with the hip right on the surface, kicking from the hip so that the knees part and we don't kick upwards so much with the back end of the thigh. We actually kick for the whole leg. You can see what happens as he breathes. You have a massive kick there to try and drive the head out of the water. So we've got to try and change that if we possibly can. Okay, we're now seeing Marawan from the other side. I'm just taking it forward a bit. We already know he pushes down. So you can see what tends to happen. His fly kicks are there and he strokes early, and because he's stroked early, he can't actually go immediately into his stroke. He has to slightly delay. That slows him down a touch. So we want to get rid of that sloppiness at the beginning of his length. Just coming up to a point where I'll stop it. There we go. And what we're seeing is we're seeing Marawan raise his head out the water, and every time you raise something at the front end, everything at the back end has to drop. So we're seeing the surface of the water, which is where we'd ideally like him to be swimming along. But we have this angle to the surface with his body that's creating drag. That's naturally going to slow him down. We'll come on to more about that in a little while. There we go. This is the other side, and we're actually looking at the centre of his back. So we're raising the head, the centre of his back is angling all the way down. It shows exactly the same thing from either side. And we'll see why that is in a short while. Because he's got his timing of his breathing slightly wrong. If you have your timing of the breathing slightly wrong, there's only one thing you should do, and that's push your head up to breathe. Here we go. Alright, we'll take this back just a touch. You can see his breathing there. His head's already out the water when his arm is not even past his shoulder. And that means he has to hold his head up because he's not rotated, he's totally flat. You can't breathe unless you're rotated to one side. So effectively, this arm should be back here, and he should be rotating to his side when he breathes, and then he would have a chance of maintaining a straight body in the water, which would be much more streamlined and naturally a lot faster. So that's the type of thing we've got to work with on Marawan. Okay, so for the last video on his front crawl at this point in time, we're going to see him from the front. Now, if you noticed in the session itself, Marawan moved from one side of the lane to the other side of the lane quite often. And there was as much as 1.5 meters across the lane he moved from the lane rope right the way across the center line. That's wasting time, but why does that happen? There's got to be some kind of push to the side that's happening at some point in Marawan's stroke. And I think we can start seeing it here. If we take this forward, you'll see his right arm sweep outwards and to the side. Now that sweep outwards was quite propulsive. Is going to push him one way or another. But he actually moved to the left. And if we see here, that second sweep of the left arm went really quite wide. So from that position, you can see his hands pointing forward. We're going to slowly but surely push sideways. You can see it pushing there sideways. And the only way he can move from that is over in the opposite direction, which is that way. And you can see the move that's happened from where his head is to where his midriff is to where his legs are. So he's completely pointing in the wrong direction there and moving across the pool, and that's solely because he's pushed out with that single arm, that left arm as he's come through. And that means if you look at it here, he has actually moved in the lane from that position where he started to right over the centre line. That's the distance that he's moved across the lane in that short period of time. And that really is a waste of effort. He notices, hang on a second, I've missed the camera, I've lost the camera now, which started in front of me, but now is over. He thinks, okay, I'll try and get back to it, which he does try and do. There's nothing else fundamentally wrong, except you can see, obviously, that slight bend in his body as he takes his breath and comes back again. Head's moving all over the place. We do have to stop that. If your head moves all over the place, you do tend to move around the lane. You can see now he's struggling to stay in a straight line. Part of the reason for that is this head moving all over the place, so we have to control that. But other than that, the fundamentals are there, and we'll work on it in